talk about all the steps involved in buying a home in Charlotte, North Carolina. Now in this video, I'm going to stay away from the benefits of home ownership and rather just focus on the steps involved in buying a home. My name is Justin Yanks and I am a Charlotte area real estate agent. If you're looking to make the move to the Charlotte area, give me a call or text or even an email and we'll see how I can help you out. Now, if you have no clue where to start, I have a Charlotte relocation guide in the description down below, so check that out if you're interested. Now, I'm making this quick video because before I was a real estate agent, I wanted to buy a home, and I had a lot of questions of the steps in the process, and I couldn't really find good guidance online. I found out every state is so different. So hopefully this gives you more confidence in your home buying journey. So step number one is going to be determining your financials and your budget. You should have an idea of your income, your savings, and your expenses and know what a comfortable mortgage would be. I also recommend using this time to build up your credit score before you decide to buy a home. The higher your credit score, the smoother the transaction will go and the less interest rate you may be paying total. And I personally like to use the Google mortgage calculator to play with the numbers and see how impactful the interest rate can be when you change it around a little bit. Step number two, and that is going to be getting your pre-approval for a mortgage. You will need to gather all your pay stubs, your taxes, your bank statements in order to see what you're actually allowed to purchase. Think of the budget you set as your comfort zone and the pre-approval as what is actually possible. Now, when it comes to getting our pre-approvals and finding lenders, you will want to shop between 3 to 4 different lenders. They're all going to have different interest rates, different programs, different loan types, and different customer service. Now, if you don't have any idea where to start with your lenders, you can actually start step number 3 first before you end up applying for a pre-approval. And with that said, step number 3 is going to be talking with a real estate agent. A real estate agent can give you guidance and expectations about the whole process. Most agents will have a vendor list of lenders, inspectors, closing attorneys, and all other sorts of recommended vendors that you'll need along the home buying process. Now, once you do have your budget and pre-approval determined, you can figure out exactly what you're looking for. Working with your significant other and your real estate agent, determine what your needs and your wants are with this home. With the budget that you decided, you can now look if that's possible in certain locations or if it's even within your price point that you're looking at. I like to sit with clients and plug in their criteria and see what's available or what has sold within the last year of those exact criteria that they set up. Setting realistic expectations with the market data is very important in this stage. In this step, your real estate agent should also set you up on automatic search on the MLS. That way you instantly get notified whenever something does pop up that has your exact criteria. That moves us on to step number 4, and that is going to be starting your house hunt. So now that you know where and what you're looking for, you're going to begin setting up showings with your agent. You and your agent are going to communicate at a time that works for both of you to see the property, see the home, and tour it, and usually about 30 to 45 minutes is pretty standard. And I always remind my clients that you can change cosmetic items. You can change the paint color, the cabinets, the flooring, or any decorations in the house, but you cannot change the location, the lot placement, or typically the floor plan. I always look for homes that my clients love, not just a home that they settle for. Now, if you did do your screening well enough on the criteria, you'll only be seeing about 4 to 6 homes before you end up falling in love with a home that you want to submit an offer on. Step number 5, making an offer. So you love the home that you saw, now it's time for you to write up an offer. This is where North Carolina is a little different than other states, so I'm going to give this section a lot more detail. So the main fill in the blank portions of an offer to purchase are the purchase price, the due diligence period, earnest money, escrow agent, the closing dates, the personal property that conveys, and if the seller is providing any closing concessions. Now, a further breakdown of this is purchase price is your offer amount. Due diligence and due diligence period is what we have in North Carolina. Now, this is for the buyer to conduct their investigation of the home and do their due diligence. The due diligence amount is written as a check to the seller once your offer has been accepted. Now, this is for the home inspection, the home appraisal, negotiation repairs, and for getting your financing secured. This is the whole goal of it. Now, typically we see a 2 to 3 week due diligence period for loans and even shorter for cash deals. That obviously could vary. Now, the money needed varies on the house price, market conditions, and if it's in a multiple offer situation. We've seen anywhere from $500 due diligence all the way up to $50,000 during the peak of COVID. During a steady market, I like to let my buyers know you are essentially paying rent for the amount of time your due diligence period is. So if the house would rent for $2,500 a month and you're looking for 3 weeks of due diligence period, that's around $1,900 for you to take the home off the market for those 3 weeks. Now again, there are a ton of factors, and the due diligence amount and period primarily depends on the demand the home is receiving. If for any reason you decide to terminate the contract within the due diligence period, you would forfeit that due diligence amount to the seller in exchange for terminating out of the contract. Now, even if there was a bad inspection and the seller did not want to negotiate, or your financing fell through, you still have to forfeit the due diligence amount, and that's important to realize. Now, earnest money is essentially the down payment for the home. This amount is typically 1% of the purchase price, but again, can be more or less. And the earnest money would not be lost if you terminated your contract during the due diligence period. Now, if you did, however, terminate the contract once the due diligence period has ended, you would forfeit both the due diligence money and the earnest money. Now, the earnest money is written to the escrow agent, which we will get into next. So the escrow agent in North Carolina is typically your closing attorney, and as a buyer, you will decide who your closing attorney will be. The closing attorney holds your earnest money, performs a title search, reviews the contract, checks for liens or past dues, updates title records, assists the buyer in getting title insurance, prepares the loan package documents, and records the deed and mortgage. They do a lot of work. Now, your real estate agent should be able to provide you with a good closing attorney, or you can use your own preferred one. Now, closing date. Closing date is typically decided by the buyer and is typically 28 to 45 days from the offer. Before we submit an offer, I like to call the listing agent and see what the seller's preferred closing date is, as this will give you the edge up on your competition if there's multiple offers. Personal property that conveys. So in North Carolina, the refrigerator, washer, and dryer do not convey with the purchase of a home. However, they are commonly negotiated in real estate transactions. So this whole section allows you to write those appliances in if desired by the buyer. This is yet another thing that I ask the listing agent if the seller is open to transferring these items with the home sale. Now, you don't want to offend the seller by asking for these items if they have full intentions of keeping them with their move. And lastly, we have the seller concessions. Now, this is a strategy you should talk with your realtor about in the buyer consultation. Essentially, the seller can contribute money for the buyer's closing costs. This usually works with properties that are on the market for more than a couple of weeks and they want to get their home sold. I always find it in the best interest of buyers to receive closing cost concessions because it can be used if the buyer needs less money to close, or it can be utilized to buy down the interest rate. Now, these are the main focus points of a North Carolina offer to purchase, but there are other addendums, other amendments, other strategic strategies that could be implemented depending on the situation. Step number 6 is going to be negotiations. So the seller has 3 options to your offer that you sent in. They can accept it, reject it altogether, or counter it with different terms. The most common response is going to be a counteroffer. They may ask for more purchase price, or they want more due diligence money in that offer. Now, once you agree to new terms and it's written up, signed, and acknowledged, then you are officially under contract. And once under contract, that brings us into step number 7, and that is going to be the home inspection. So you will want to schedule the home inspection right away to make sure you have the most amount of time possible to negotiate the repairs during the due diligence period, and just make sure that you're ahead of the ball. Now, your real estate agent should be able to provide you with 3 different home inspectors that you can choose from. There's a few different types of inspections, but the main ones are going to be the standard home inspection, termite inspection, and radon inspection. Now, you are more than welcome to perform other inspections like a fireplace inspection, crawl space inspection, or a sewer scope inspection, but these obviously do come with higher costs. I typically recommend the standard home inspection, the termite inspection, and the radon inspection, and then if there's anything that pops up in the standard inspection, then we'll look to see if another inspection is warranted. Now, these general inspections will range between $400 to $700 depending on how much you want. The home inspection is always going to come back with 40 to 60 pages, so you're primarily looking at the major issues in this. There's going to be a lot of minor issues that pop up here. I always recommend my clients meet with the inspector the last 30 minutes of the inspection, so that way they can hear it from the professional and see exactly what the inspector saw. Now, from this point, you have a few options. You can take the home as is, you can ask for repairs, or you can ask for a certain dollar amount in lieu of repairs, which would end up counting as closing costs. Now, typically, if you ask for multiple items to be fixed, the seller will only counter and give you a couple of those items repaired, and the other ones they will not repair. It's important to remember that if you decide to terminate your contract because of the inspection or having issues with negotiation repairs, you would still have to forfeit the due diligence money. Now, once the buyer and seller agree on negotiations, paperwork will be signed, acknowledging the agreement. Now, step number 8 is going to be financing and appraisal. Once you go under contract, you will send the lender the offer to purchase, and they will begin securing financing to ensure the buyer is actually able to purchase the home completely. More paperwork may be needed, and your lender should lock in your interest rate to ensure that it doesn't change during this closing period and you don't get priced out if rates go up. The lender will order an appraiser to come appraise the home. This costs anywhere from $500 to $1,000 and is usually needed upfront. The appraiser is going to determine the value of the home based on a comparative market analysis and the current condition of the home. The main thing the buyer is looking for here is the appraiser to either appraise the home at the purchase price or to appraise it above the purchase price, giving you instant equity. If the home does not appraise at the purchase price and there's a disparity, the bank will not lend the full amount of the home, and you may need to cover the appraisal gap with cash or change your down payment accordingly. You could also attempt to ask the seller to lower the price down to the appraisal or meet halfway, but again, they are not required to do that. Step number 9, and that is going to be title search and insurance. When you choose the closing attorney, they will be conducting the title search to ensure that there are no title issues. Your closing attorney will assist you in getting the title insurance, which is required by the lender. This cost depends on the loan amount, but is also paid at closing. That brings us to our final step, which is step number 10, and that is closing. A few days before closing, you will receive a closing disclosure from the lender and attorney detailing the final numbers needed. This is going to calculate every penny associated with buying a home. This will give you the total dollar amount needed to purchase the home, as well as taxes, homeowner's insurance. Everything will be in this packet. Now, you will need the down payment and the closing cost sum. This dollar amount should be wire transferred to the closing attorney, typically before closing takes place. Now, usually the morning of closing or the day before closing, you schedule a final walkthrough with your real estate agent to visit the home once more and just ensure that the seller is moved out, everything is in the same condition, and any agreed upon repairs were completed. Once the money is wired, you arrive on your closing date and scheduled time with the closing attorney, where they are going to further explain the breakdown of every line item in the closing disclosure packets. You will sign a bunch of paperwork and then you're all done. Once the deed is recorded and you have the keys, you're legally entitled to move into that home. I hope that helps you understand how you can buy a home in the Charlotte, North Carolina area. South Carolina is a little bit different, but I might do a little video on that in the future. Now, if you are looking to purchase a home in the Charlotte area, give me a call, 704-565-9413, or check out my website to get started. I'd love to help you out. Take care.